Welcome to Up on the Wire podcast, a dive into the process of journalism and behind the scenes of the stories that you see on RaginWire.com. I am here with Ragin Wire reporter Aaron Gonsoulin. Aaron, how are you?
I'm great, Louis. How are you?
You know, there's an elephant in the room. We have done podcasts before.
We have?
We have done a radio show before.
We have.
The Vermilion Sports Show. KRVS 88.7.
Nice plug.
We're not here to talk about that.
No.
We're here to talk about your story on RaginWire.com. Your latest story was on Chris Jones.
Yes.
Hypnotist. Came to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette for a very special event. I feel like we don't, at the university, you don't get a lot of these entertaining shows like a Chris Jones. So, just how special was that to have Chris Jones here at UL?
Yeah, so it was in the ballroom at the Union, so I showed up 30 minutes earlier just because it started about 7 o'clock. So I was like, let me just get in a little early. And then I walk in and the line was out the door. Everyone was there to see Chris Jones. And I'm like, what is this? I was like, what is this? So I went around, I talked to a couple people, and I actually talked to Chris Jones. And he's a really interesting person. He was on America's Got Talent. I don't know if you ever watched it.
No, I was doing the research for this podcast. So, Chris Jones, and the article's now up on RaginWire.com. Everyone go check it out. But I know who Chris Jones is. I remember watching him on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy that going from that big of a stage to performing to college students at UL.
Yeah.
That difference there.
Yeah.
And, Chris Jones, he is kind of has been in the national eye.
Yeah, his claim to fame was, do you know who Howie Mandel is?
Yes,
comedian.
Host of Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No Deal. So Howie's notoriously, he's a germaphobe, so he doesn't like touching or shaking people's hands, and he was able to hypnotize, Chris Jones was able to hypnotize Howie Mandel to just shake your hand, and when Howie found out, Howie actually said in a later interview he had to go to counseling because being hypnotized really affected him.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's crazy.
That I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
So, for people that may have read this article or maybe have not read this article, as I mentioned, it's on RaginWire.com. What was this about? Was it simply the event of Chris Jones coming to you?
Yeah, it was just he was here a few years ago, and I spoke with someone with UPC, and they were saying how because he was such a hit last time, they wanted to bring him back, and it was even bigger and better. Because Chris Jones, he does this. This is what he does for a living. He goes to universities because he worked at a university himself when I spoke to him, but he just loves doing this. He loves helping. He told me he wanted to make a couple people laugh, make a couple people freak out, and have some fun doing it, and he did all of those three things.
Did you ever laugh or freak out while you were
covering this? Do you believe in hypnotists?
I don't know. I am skeptical.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical too. But when he was, he was doing his, it's like an initial test where people had to hold a balloon and close their eyes, and if they would let go of the string of the balloon, they were hypnotized. And I was just on my phone. I was taking notes because I didn't want to even risk it. Mm-hmm. And when I saw some of the things he was able to do, I was like, oh my God. I was like, maybe this thing is real.
So did you leave this a believer?
I think so. I don't know, but some of the stuff he was doing and, similar reactions of the kids that were hypnotized it was wild. I think the people who weren't hypnotized was even better. Their reactions, they were freaking out.
So was Chris Jones, being in the national eye before on AGT, and maybe your skepticism of hypnosis, were those some of the things that drew you into covering this event?
I was like, you know what, this would be pretty fun to cover, so let me just go. And I just wanted to see some of the students' reactions. That was my main reason for going. But for sure. And
you mentioned that there was a line out the door. So what was the crowd like at the event and the reactions to his routine that he performed?
Oh man, the line again, like I said, it was out the door. I was waiting for at least 20 minutes in line because people were just they had to bring in more chairs in the ballroom because there was not enough seating. And when people were hypnotized for the first time, you can hear gasps and oh my God and all that. And there was lots of video and lots of laughter and freaking out by all the students.
And some of the video that you shot, it was protect a student by covering him with a chair?
Yeah, so he was saying the person next to you, he's being searched by the police. So when I say 1, 2, 3, you have to hide him underneath the chair. So the guy, we didn't get any names because funny thing is they didn't remember their names for like 30 minutes after the show. So
Wow.
he was really, I'm gonna talk about him later on because he was the star of the show for us. He just looked next to the guy, and when Chris said 1 2 3, he put like 3 or 4 chairs on top of him, and like it was just wild. It was a wild scene. He had no idea what was going on.
Okay, so how many wild scenes were there? I mean,
Whew.
so when he put the students in hypnosis, what were some of the more interesting and entertaining ways he did so?
Oh, so the cop one was really funny. The guy I was talking about, Chris Jones told him he can see through people's clothing. So he gave him a water bottle, and he told him to look through it, and the guy didn't see anything. And then Chris Jones was like, now you can see, and he snapped his finger, and his mouth just dropped. He's like he was seeing everyone's clothing. So Chris asked him to give a thumbs up or thumbs down, so he gave a thumbs down. It was really good. And then he made the student dance with the girl, and he had like happy dust that he would blow on him, and every once in a while the guy would just smile. Like it was really funny, and just to see him, because he was asking like, what do you think? He's like, man, I don't like this at all. He was freaking out, but it was really fun. It was no harm put to anyone. It was really good, clean fun.
But there has been like some of the harm, as you mentioned, with Howie Mandel having to go, talk to somebody about being hypnotized and what he'd been through. Have you explored some of the effects of like hypnosis at all?
Yeah, I talked to him about it. He said it's nothing wrong with hypnosis. It's just if you believe in it or not, and that's one of his main reasons for coming. He wanted to if you don't believe in it, at least give it a try. Which I did. I went into it like not believing in it, but I had an open mind and I was changed. And he said that's all he really wants is for students to at least try to.
And he wanted students to believe he was Drake.
Yes.
On stage.
Oh man.
I did see that from the event.
Yeah, that was a highlight. That was the end of the show. He put the students that were in the trance the whole night. He was talking, and he put on the LeBron James jersey because Drake. He's a LeBron fan, Steph fan. He's everybody's fan.
He's everybody's fan, and if Drake is your fan, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Especially your team's not gonna win. So he had the jersey on. He put a hat on. I think it was a Red Sox hat on, of course. And he put on the same jacket that he wore in Hotline Bling, and he started rapping. Drake's music was playing, and then like the kids who were in trance just freaked out. And the guy who was the star of the show, he's like, Six God.
Wow.
Yeah, he was freaking out. He was taking pictures and everything.
That's where it gets bigger to me because my skepticism is, you can do one person, you can do one individual.
Yeah.
That's where I get skeptical. But then you draw a whole crowd to believe that you're this individual, you're this, entertainer. That's what's crazy, how he can just have an entire crowd hypnotized at one time.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. And it's funny thing, he kind of does look like Drake a little bit, but he was really fun.
I'm sure that's why he chose Drake.
Yeah, that's why he chose Drake. I mean, I don't know if he can be anyone else. Couldn't be
Chris Jones.
Yeah, he could be a Chris Jones.
He could be Chris Jones.
But he does this like all over the country, different places. He even made them dance to Thriller. When they do the shoulder and then the clap, he was able to do that. It was wild. Like he was in front of them and he was doing the dance and everyone was following him. It was really wild.
So what were some of the things that you talked to Chris Jones about, after the show, and that may have not made the article on Ragin Wire?
Yeah, so I talked to him about his reasoning behind it, like why did he get into hypnotism, and he was really cool about it. Again, he worked at a university. He just said he wanted to do something different, and this is the complete opposite of everything that he did before. And he just says he loves. He said it's a grind. He's always traveling back and forth. He said he does shows like this for students, but he also does corporate shows. He's like, this is a lot more fun because students are more lively and they're upbeat about everything. So he says he enjoys it.
Yeah. What did he do at other universities?
He does the same thing. He has the same act because I did my research.
Before he became a hypnotist and he was working at the university, do you know what he did?
I don't think he didn't say, but I'm pretty sure he was administration.
Whatever's the complete opposite of hypnosis.
Yeah, literally everything actually.
That's what he did. All right, so to the skeptics of hypnosis, including ourselves, to a degree.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What did Chris Jones tell you about skepticism and how that plays a role in his routine?
Again, I was like he said I'm okay if you're skeptic, but like if you just go in with an open mind and think like, hey, I'm gonna just give it a shot. That's all he asks. He's like, just like science, like until you're given the proof, like you're not a believer, but until you see that it actually happens, you can change your mind. So that was his whole idea. Like, you might not believe in it, but just give it a try, which I did, and now I'm a believer.
Now you're a believer. All right. Well, that is all for this episode of Up on the Wire. Thank you, Aaron, for joining me and talking about Chris Jones and hypnosis.
Thanks, Louis, for having me. Appreciate it.
We've known each other for a while. I don't think we've ever talked about hypnosis.
No, we're just breaking new ground.
Breaking new ground. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. Breaking new ground. All right. You can check out the story on RaginWire.com. Remember to stay up to date and stay on the wire. RaginWire.com.